As the summer comes to a close, are we feeling indie fatigue on a Nintendo Switch? It's clearly the spot for smaller games. They all want to seek the light on Switch, and a lot of them are very successful, and we continue to get more and more, some old, some new. And while we do have Pokemon, Mario Party, and Smash to look forward to, it's been a whole lot of indie stuff for quite some time, Gabe. And I'm wondering if you're feeling okay with that, burnt out by that, or somewhere in between.
It's honestly like a double-edged sword, right? Because good games are good games. I don't care what size they are. They could be huge games. They could be small games. If a game is fun, if a game is creative, if a game is innovative, I'm there for it. I don't care if it's pixelated or, looking like God of War on PS4 Pro. But at some point, and I kind of blame the audience a little bit, and not necessarily just our audience, just Nintendo's audience in general, they point out a lot of things that I'm like, that's true. Because a common sentiment is, hey, like, we're tired of, these pixelated side-scrolling games on Switch. And of course, there's great variety to what these games are, right? Shakedown Hawaii and The Messenger are very, very different games. They're both pixelated and you're both, like, kind of like side-scrolling, but, tremendously different games. Shakedown Hawaii not out, by the way. So when I hear people complain about, like, hey, Switch is only getting these, like, tiny games or the third-party stuff, and, of course, Nintendo needs to take their time with the releases because they marinate an awful long time just so they can taste so good in the end, Zach. Mm-hmm. So they have to supplement with these indies. And people have been apprehensive, to say the least, about the fact that it's only indies, at least recently. There's been some great ones. I love The Messenger. Morphe's Law came out. Didn't like that as much. I had a really good time playing Slamland recently. So I'm diving into the indie pool. I'm just wondering if I'm liking splashing around in here as much as I am. Because the upcoming stuff that's exciting for indies, Hyper Light Drifter, Towerfall, they've been out for such a long time. So not only is it hey, we're getting ports of old games, but these also just happen to be really small indie games, and I can tell that people are sort of starting to be put off by it. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of categories here, and those nuances may help us separate this out. But it's interesting to me that you say the pool goers, per se, are influencing your feelings a bit. It's like you're having fun in the pool, but once they tell you that there might be a better pool on the other side of town, maybe you reconsider a little bit. And I feel that way at times as well. And I think there's kind of three groups of indie games to consider here. One would be the glut of stuff that we don't play and most people don't focus on. Nintendo wants to push a bunch of titles each and every week, and so there are a lot that just are kind of shoved to the side. Then you have the games like Hyper Light Drifter, the eventual Undertale, these games that were very successful on other platforms, now coming to the Switch. They usually feel great here, they're usually a lot of fun, and they usually do well again. And then the third category would be the brand new stuff, like The Messenger, like Celeste. And for that third category, I say, more power to you, no matter what. Keep that up, Nintendo. I love that they are seeking out exciting, exclusive experiences for the Switch, and that they come frequently, they help pad out the calendar, they fill in the gaps, and they're usually really, really good titles. So whether those are pixelated, 3D, co-op, single player, old school, new school, keep that coming. I don't think that should stop at all. The ones that may be a little bit weird are kind of the retreads, and it's a double-edged sword, like you said, because I love playing them. I think they're great on Switch. Like, some of my favorite time with the Switch is playing things from yesteryear that I enjoyed elsewhere and now get to take with me. But, like, I've been playing a lot of Spider-Man PS4, and obviously that is a showpiece of a game from a platform that has specs well beyond the Switch, but it does make me kind of wish that there were more bigger, quote-unquote, full games happening over here.
Yeah, and, don't get us wrong. We both love indie games. I probably love them more than you. So I don't want to sound like I'm, like, bashing them in any way, because I'm not. The thing is, when that's, like, all we're getting, I think that's when it becomes an issue. Gone Home, another good example of a beloved game coming to Switch, but it's so old by this point. So many people have played it, and then the people that haven't played it, they might not even understand it, just because walking simulators kind of had, like, a very short time span where they were, like, kind of in. But, younger people now, they're not into this. We saw that when it got revealed. We mentioned it in one of our videos, and people were like, what? Like, this Gone Home thing, like, looks like so silly. And of course, we know that the caliber of game that is great. It's won a ton of awards. That absolutely deserves all of them. But again, the fact that it's coming, 5+ years later to Switch is kind of weird, and I guess it's starting to weigh on me a little bit. Towerfall is a fantastic game that you and I have a ton of fun with every time we see each other in person. Are we going to just play it on Switch next time we see each other, or are we going to play it like we always play it? And are we going to be incentivized to buy it again? So that's the tricky thing. And, look, like you said, doesn't matter what the game looks like, but can we ignore the fact that people keep complaining that all of these games are pixelated? Because I feel like that sentiment is going to grow and grow the more we get them, right?
Yeah, I think it has to do with supplemental content versus main course. And right now, given the lack of third-party support and given the summer that saw Mario Tennis Aces and saw Octopath but didn't see a whole lot else, the indie stuff is the main course. And I think it's very hard for 2D games, side-scrollers, to carry a console. As supplemental games, they're great. And as new experiences like the eventual huge Shovel Knight Treasure Trove collection and the Messenger, Celeste, you could go back through Graceful Explosion Machine, Mr. Shifty. There's a lot of really cool ones. And as new releases, those are fun. But I don't really, as the novelty of the Switch has worn away a bit, you get a little burnt out on the fact that the exciting new announcement is that Hyper Light Drifter and Bastion are coming. Great to have. And I don't even mind things as much like Into the Breach, which is not day and date, but it's decently close, and that is great on Switch, better for me than PC. But yeah, it does feel a bit odd when it's hey, we're going to fill your weeks and your gaps with games that you probably already played, and they might be better on this platform. But yeah, I would like them all to be there. I'm never going to push back against a plethora of options. It's just that they're kind of the only options right now.
So let me ask you this, though. Are you feeling indie fatigue on Nintendo Switch? Do you feel a type of way that, we get a ton of indies and, again, a lot of them are great, but are you starting to feel a way that we're not getting any major experiences? At least right now. Again, we know that Pokemon's coming. We know Mario Party's coming. We know Smash is coming. But for the time being, or for the last few months, summer's been pretty slow. How do you personally feel? Have you felt oh man, it's just so many indies, another indie? Is that your sentiment?
Yeah, I think that, it's not like we can control this, but I do think it's obviously time for Nintendo to add more AAA major releases, and hopefully 2019 can bring that. We knew this would sort of be the case. We had hopes at some point that it would be a bit different. I don't think it's, really... The ship has sort of sailed on getting everything day and date, right? Or having this massive third-party extravaganza. It probably will improve. They seem to come in waves. But yeah, in the moment, in an isolated bubble, if these games are your style, then you're going to be having a ton of fun. I still play a lot of Dead Cells. I still play a lot of Enter the Gungeon. Messenger is pretty cool. It's just when I look elsewhere, and like you said, you sort of see comments and you feel that influence of okay, there's not a ton. So within a bubble, they're fun games. It's just okay, would it be more fun if we had double the dosage of games like Mario plus Rabbids and eventually Doom Eternal being day and date, things of that sort? Yes. I don't think you can. I don't think no is really anyone's answer there.
Yeah. For me personally, I'm still playing through the Messenger, having a really good time with that. I always knew I was going to like that game, and all that's being reinforced. There are some disappointments. Morphe's Law is something that, for some reason or another, I had some excitement for. That let me down tremendously. I'm still trying to find indie gems here and there, and I'm having a really good time with those. And you mentioned things like Celeste that, can't even be argued. Those are some of the best games on the platform, period, no matter if you're indie or first party. But I think I am maybe a little bit starting to get tired of, at the very least, all these re-releases that I've experienced before a ton. Because at this point, they might as well not even exist. For me, at least. Because I don't know if I'm going to go play them again on Switch for a very long time. I've experienced these things, and I had a great time with them. But they're not the type of experience that I want to have over and over. So I think I might be kind of done with those. Like you, I'm here for the big Nintendo-sanctioned indie stuff that they're doing, where they're putting their efforts behind something and making sure it gets some recognition. I'm here for all of that. It's just the retreads that I might be a little bit done with.
Yeah, and Look, I think games are better than no games. So at the end of the day, I'm going to support them bringing consistent content. And if Nintendo needs to seek older titles to help supplement what they've got going on in sort of the current space, then more power to them. If that's what needs to happen, that's what needs to happen. I just wish that it wasn't 100% that way. And for me, the Switch has become a big indie machine. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And it'll shift, right? This will ebb and flow. As Smash comes out and as Pokemon comes out, we're probably going to be spending a lot less time with indies over the fall months. So it will move back and forth. Long term, overall, is there fatigue? Absolutely. Will these coming games be enough? I don't know. Hopefully a Direct this month can remedy some of this with more announcements, more games, more full-on experiences. I think that definitely is in the best interest of Switch and definitely in the best interest of balancing out, hey, we do have a lot of indies, current, past, and some very cool, with AAA titles that you can go grab on a store shelf and that aren't just what Nintendo is able to manufacture from a first-party standpoint, but bringing other things into the fold. Let us know how you feel in the comments down below about indie fatigue. Are you feeling it, or are you fine with this being the meat and potatoes for the Switch right now? And do you think it stays that way, or will it change? I still probably put the most time into indies. Like if you added all the time up of the indie games I played versus the first-party and third-party AAA, it probably leans indie, which is interesting. But how does it lean for you? Let us know down there in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on the latest and greatest from the Switch and their lineup, both indie and AAA. Follow us on Twitter and Discord. There's links in the description. And until next time, everybody, for myself and Gabe, have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. We love you. Switch Force, out.